end zone touchdown.
Throw down to second in time.
The last two possessions. What a pass. What a pass.
When it comes home, they got her. Up top.
Welcome to the Big 12 Report presented by Dr. Pepper. I'm Wendell Barnhouse, Big12Sports.com correspondent, joined by my co-host, Carter Babb.
Thanks, Wendell. Glad to be here. If you watched any of the Big 12's opening games this weekend or any other games around college football, you probably noticed a few different rules. Now, some of these rules are pretty significant. Wendell caught up with Big 12 Coordinator of Officials Walt Anderson for an explanation on these rules and how they'll affect play this season.
There are new rules in college football this season involving yard lines for kickoffs, how onside kicks can be covered, what happens when a player loses his helmet during a play, plus some blocking rules that deal with safety issues. We asked Walt Anderson, the Big 12 Coordinator of Football Officiating, to guide us through the new rules.
Regular kickoffs now will be from the 35-yard line. The players cannot be any further back than 5 yards, so they can't get but a 5-yard running start, so to speak, on the kickoff. If you have a touchback, kickoff goes into the end zone, it's coming out to the 25-yard line instead of the 20. And then the other change on the kickoff rule is if you have a ball driven into the ground and it's that high hopper of an onside kick, the receiving team is afforded the same protection as if the ball were kicked directly into the air. The punt receiver has a protection of everything in front of him to a distance of 1 yard. It used to be 2 yards. It's now 1 yard in front of him. So until he catches the ball, or at least has an opportunity to catch the ball, the kicking team cannot be within a yard of him. Players who are in motion, if they're in motion only with inside what we call the tackle box, they can block low. The other difference is what we call the peel back block. So offensive players can't go downfield, turn around, and then come back toward their own line of scrimmage or goal line and end up blocking the defensive player low. In other words, blindsiding him low from the defensive side of the ball. If a player's helmet comes off in the past, just like an injury, that player's got to go out for one play. Can't buy their way back in with a timeout. The only exception is if the helmet comes off as a result of a foul. In that situation, the player can still participate. The other part of the rule, once the player's helmet comes off, he has to stop play. He cannot continue to participate in the play. If he does, then he would be subject to a 15-yard penalty. Like a lot of new rules, we're going to end up seeing how this rule ends up playing out, whether or not it's going to have an effect. What the Rules Committee hopes happens is that players will put their helmets on a little tighter and we won't have helmets coming off to the frequency that they have in the past.
The Rules Committee is made up of coaches and administrators, and it's apparent that the common theme for this season's rule changes is making the game safer for the student athletes.
I want to thank Walt Anderson. He's a great resource for us here on the show because every year he's able to explain what's going to be new as far as the rules are concerned. And it looks like officials all around the country are going to have a lot more to look at as far as new rules on the college football field.
That's right. After going a perfect 9-0 in the opening weekend, Week 2 will definitely get more difficult for the Big 12. 6 of the 8 games will be against Division 1A opponents, 5 of whom won their season openers. Would you tell us about a few of the games coming up this week?
Well, it's tough just to pick 3, but here goes. Going to start off with the Kansas State game. They're hosting Miami of Florida. Last year, Kansas State kind of jump-started its season by beating the Hurricanes in Miami with a dramatic goal line stand. Now, last week, Kansas State started slow and finished fast, and they need to carry that momentum into Saturday's game. The Hurricanes have a team dominated by freshmen and sophomores, and freshman running back Duke Johnson had a big game last week with touchdown runs of 54 and 56 yards. Iowa State travels to Iowa and will try to maintain control of the Cy-Hawk Trophy that goes to the winner of this annual in-state rivalry game. Iowa State quarterback Steele Jantz made several big plays in last year's triple overtime Iowa State victory in Ames. The Cyclones defense will try to smother an Iowa offense that produced just 268 yards in an 18-17 victory over Northern Illinois. Now, Oklahoma State got a lot of attention for its 84-0 victory over Savannah State, which was basically just a glorified scrimmage. Now, Game 2 for the Cowboys will be considerably more challenging as they travel to Tucson to face Arizona. Rich Rodriguez is the Wildcats' new coach, and he runs a high-powered offense that features a versatile quarterback. Arizona QB Matt Scott threw for a career-high 387 yards and also rushed for 74 yards as Arizona defeated Toledo in overtime. Now here's a look at the rest of the games on Saturday's schedule. One game to keep a lookout for is the Texas Tech at Texas State game.
Well, I think we're going to have some pretty interesting games this weekend. It should be fun to watch. All right, let's get to this week's shout-outs. What did you find out for us this week, Wendell?
Well, first of all, it was a great weekend for the Big 12 to get things started. Last September, the conference was almost perfect, and they started out with another perfect start with a 9-0 weekend as far as the 9 teams that played. And in those 9 games, they were all very lopsided scores. The Big 12 won by an average of 48-15. A lot of very impressive first performances, particularly by West Virginia and Geno Smith. The quarterback for the Mountaineers was named the Walter Camp National Player of the Week, and he's going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate probably for the entire season because he got off to such a great start. And as far as soccer is concerned, we'll go to shout-out number 2, and it's going to be Bedlam in women's soccer as undefeated and third-ranked Oklahoma State will travel to Norman to face their in-state rival, the Oklahoma Sooners. At 6-0, the Cowgirls are the only undefeated team in Big 12 play. Now, the Sooners have a 3-2-1 record. Their 2 losses and a tie have all been in double overtime. Last season, OU didn't play a single overtime match. And congrats to Kansas freshman Ashley Williams, who was named the Big 12's Offensive Player and Newcomer of the Week. She's the first player since 2009 to earn both awards in the same week. Williams leads the Big 12 with 5 goals and 11 points. The last shout-out, we're going to take a look at volleyball. TCU coach Prentice Lewis gained the 200th victory of her career with a 3-set sweep of SMU last Friday. And Texas Tech is off to one of the best starts in school history. They came from behind to beat North Texas to push their record to 8-0. That matches the best start in school history that was last achieved in 2003. And Oklahoma's Maria Fernanda moved up to 6th place in the Big 12 career digs. She's the only active player in the conference ranked in the top 10 of any of the statistical categories.
That's all for this week's Big 12 report. For all the latest news and notes from around the conference, be sure to visit our website at big12sports.com and follow us on Twitter at Big 12 Conference. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, so this, okay. And I looked at the wrong camera. The play. Now the Sooners have a 3-2. Remember, we were talking about we were going to. That's I think we never talked about it till yesterday.